Hello everybody, Kyle here. Today I am bringing you the second installment of Pokemon Immunities. Today we are going to be talking about Pokemon who have immunities based on their element. Now this is me different than the first episode in the sense that in the first episode we were talking purely on hexes. Just a brief recap, hexes are things that give you status elements such as Thunder Wave, giving you Paralyze, Fire Blast, having a chance to give you Burn, etc. Today we're going to be talking about full-on immunities of an element. Now, the difference being that while a fire Pokemon cannot be burned, you can still hit a fire Pokemon with a fire move. The Pokemon I'm talking about in this video are Pokemon that cannot be harmed in any way by certain elements because of their own element. Ghastly, once again, being a very good Pokemon, we're going to be using him as an example in this video as well. So to start things off, Ghost Pokemon such as Ghastly cannot be harmed by any moves of the normal type. So I feel like that one's pretty straightforward. No normal element move can hit any Ghost Pokemon. There are some abilities you can use like Detect, and then there are also some Pokemon ability. Sorry, I should They really shouldn't have called ability because then it makes it. There are some moves you can use such as Detect that will allow the hitting of Ghost Pokemon with normal moves. And there are also some abilities such as Scrappy, or Scrafty? Scrappy? I believe it's Scrappy, that lets you also attack Ghost Pokemon with physical moves such as Normal Element. But that's not really the point of this video. Sorry, I'm getting slightly distracted by noises outside. So, Ghost Pokemon cannot be harmed by normal element moves. They also, actually, I should bring this up, they also cannot be harmed by fighting moves. They are the only type, I believe, they are, yes. They are the only type that has two full immunities. They're immune to fighting, and they are immune to normal. So definitely something you got to keep track of. I think I mentioned it briefly in the first video. Just imagine if you woke up and there's a ghost in your room. You wouldn't imagine you'd be able to beat it up because it's Ghost. So moving on. Ground Pokemon, such as Swinub. It is Ice Ground, but again, as long as they have the ground element at all, this applies to them. All ground Pokemon are immune to electricity, or the electric element. You cannot harm them with the electric element at all. Can't do it. Just think of that one in the sense of, can you tase the ground? No, not really. If electricity was able to pass through ground, we'd probably all be getting electrocuted fairly often. Now this one is useful for two options, or two examples. So we're going to start with Steel. Steel Pokemon are completely immune to all poison elements. That one is also easy. Just imagine, trying to inject a chemical into a piece of metal, or trying to pour rat poison on a pipe. You're not going to do anything to it. But Fairy is also immune to Dragon. So that's another one you got to know. Meaning that Mawile does have two immunities, but it's because she has two elements. You cannot deal any damage to Fairy Pokemon with Dragon Pokemon, or with Dragon elements, I should say. So Steel cannot be attacked by any move that is of the Poison element. Fairy cannot be attacked by any move of the Dragon element. That one is a little more fantastical, so it's harder to make just a solid mental image to keep in your head. So there we are. Let's see here. Moving on. flying Pokemon, such as Tropius, who you'll probably recognize from the last video. Tropius is flying, and flying Pokemon have pure immunity to ground element. You cannot hit a ground Pokemon, you cannot hit a flying Pokemon with anything of the ground element. Again, as I think I mentioned in part 1, briefly for some reason. It might have been one of my deleted ones that didn't come out very good. Maybe I didn't actually mention this. But basically, just imagine if you're a bird flying in the air and there's an earthquake, the bird's not going to know. So I think that one's probably one of the easiest ones to remember, is ground does not hit flying, because flying Pokemon don't touch the ground. They can, but just go with it. Dark Pokemon are immune to Psychic. Completely immune. That's another thing that's hard to imagine in your head, because it's not so straightforward as, flying in ground and electric in ground and etc. But it is definitely important to know. I feel like Psychic Pokemon are very common. Most of the elements, I think, are actually extremely common. But Psychic Pokemon, such as Alakazam... Pardon me. And then lots of Pokemon carry Psychic coverage, such as Starmie, who is also a Psychic Pokemon. I've seen Extrasensory on... what this thing turns into, I can't remember how to pronounce its name. Jinx, I think, is Ice Psychic, carries Psychic moves. There's a lot of Psychic coverage. I couldn't think of any good examples. I kept naming Pokemon that were Psychic, but you get the picture. Dark Pokemon are just really good to have, and to be honest, until I made this video, I actually did not know that Dark Pokemon were completely immune to Psychic. I myself had no idea. So that's something that's good to know. I'm surprised that I didn't learn it earlier, because I imagine that I might have tried to do it before, but I guess I just never did. So definitely good. Bam. Normal Pokemon. Now, Ghost cannot harm Normal. Normal cannot harm Ghost. So that's good to know. When you wake up and there's not Ghost in your room, it can't do anything to you. No, I'm joking. Don't have nightmares, because of me, I'd feel really bad. But yes, a Ghost Pokemon cannot harm a normal Pokemon. So keep that in mind. When you... this little guy is so distracting. When you see a Spinda or a Kangaskhan, I think it's probably the most common one you'll run into. Pardon me, guys. It is really late for me. I'm having some trouble sleeping, so I'm doing this video really early in the morning. I know it's not a good idea, but it's what I'm doing. So Ghost Pokemon cannot harm normal Pokemon. There we go. Those are all of the immunities from attacks by element. Now there are a couple things. Pardon me. That I forgot to mention in the first one, that I definitely feel in the first episode, that I definitely feel like should be brought up. And that is if toxic spikes are on the field, and you switch in a poison Pokemon, they actually will nullify the toxic spikes, unless they're flying or they have the levitate ability. So basically, if the Pokemon would touch the spikes, but it's poison, so it's not affected by them, it actually removes the toxic spikes from the battlefield. So keep that in mind. Also, ground, rock, and steel Pokemon are completely immune to sandstorm damage. They will not receive sandstorm damage during a sandstorm. Ice-type Pokemon receive no damage from hail in ice. Flying-type Pokemon are not damaged by spikes on the field, nor do they get afflicted with poison or badly poisoned when there's toxic spikes on the field. And I'm trying to think. I guess the last one that I should bring up, though it might be kind of obvious, is a steel type Pokemon. If you switch a steel Pokemon onto Toxic Spikes, they will not become poisoned, or badly poisoned. They're immune to both versions of the condition. However, they will not remove the Toxic Spikes. Toxic Spikes are only removed if a poison Pokemon switches in on top of the Toxic Spikes. So if you switch in them, say you're playing singles, or you're playing doubles and you only do a single switch, and you switch in a Magneton onto the field, and it doesn't get poisoned from the spikes, don't think that they're gone. They are still there. You definitely have to be careful for those. And there we go. So, alright guys, my DS is about to die. Oh gosh. Phew. I've never seen battery go into panic mode like that. That was crazy. Okay guys, sorry about that. So yes. Sorry that I threw that extra stuff kind of in the back there. It's just something, there are a couple points that I probably should have made in the first one, but I didn't because they weren't hex based. But I felt like that they should be thrown in here, so this one is going to be weather effects, hazards, and elemental resistances. And there we go, guys. I don't want to make this video way too long, so I am going to go ahead and end it here. And once again, if you guys are curious what I've been working on all this time, I will show you. It's not named yet. It's not finished being trained yet. So don't get too antsy about the stats you're seeing here. But I am working on an Eviolite Magneton based on a suggestion from a viewer. So thank you very much for your suggestion. It actually is going to be a pretty good part of the team, I feel. And alright guys, I will see you next time. Probably not too far from now with the final installment. Alright guys, bye.